This is my survival Minecraft world. Here, I spend my time trying to imagine a world that is both scientifically plausible and completely unique from our own. For a long time, I have wanted to see if I could bring my Minecraft world to life in the only way I know, building it out of Lego. The idea for this build coincided with a very important stage in my latest project in Minecraft, which involved entirely tearing down several islands and building them back up to match a pre-existing forest I have elsewhere in the world. I had already mined the selected islands down and formed the terrain and the secret details I needed for the foundation. The next step was where I filled the blank dirt hills with flora and fungi in many kinds. This was the perfect time to set an area aside and build it out of Lego. So let's dive into it, shall we? First, I wanted to finish off the river and the shorelines, which had not yet been touched. I had already developed a style for my rivers, where I made a gradient from tuff to mud at the deepest points, but given this was a shallow river, I only ended up reaching cobbled deep slate. For the shoreline, I used a similar strategy to transition from damp mud to packed soil in a very satisfying way. Once I had added algae blooms on the shoreline, I was ready to move on. Next, I built the trees. For this particular forest, there are 4 species of trees I use, all of them quite different. While I wanted to use the more stunning flowering trees, I instead opted for the 2 most common types of trees I had created, which would show a better depiction of what the forest as a whole would look like. Once I had added them, the only thing left was vegetation. There are many species of plant I had begun to use in the forest. Some of them I'm quite proud of, and I wanted to include a number of them here. Now, onto the Lego. Before I did anything, I established a scale to use. Instead of the more common 2x2 stud blocks, which make more sense when creating cubes, I opted for 3x3 stud blocks, which more accurately match minifigure size, which is important given that this was a diorama of sorts. Next, I formed a structurally stable base, and put up the river that cut through it. Here, I added several species of plants and animals that bring it to life, including the one that resembles the zombie nautilus found within Minecraft. With the river out of the way, I covered it with a layer of transparent blue and worked on the muddy shore. I transitioned from black to dark brown to reddish brown and filled the shoreline with half a dozen species of flowering plants, setting it apart from the more inland portions. With some mossy boulders, ridges, and burrows, I built up the rest of the terrain, filling it with the remaining undergrowth species I wanted to work in this scene. To fill out this space, I added some fauna, including an insect's hive nestled in the roots of a tree, a wild ground bird, and 3 people geared up with various tools, weapons, and items. Moving on to the trees, I started with the more basic tree, which leans out over the water before reaching into the sky. I picked up a number of the relatively new leaf peas, but it ended up being smaller than I expected, so I had to work extensively to get the shape I wanted, which ended up making it a little different than its Minecraft counterpart. The second tree was also a struggle, much more different than the first one. I did not spend long in the trunk, which ended up turning out quite well on the riverside. However, creating the canopy ended up being much more of a challenge than I had anticipated. It seemed like every day I would work on it for a bit, feel happy with it, then come back the next day and see flaws with it, and work on it some more. In the end, I am satisfied with this tree, and although I'm sure there's more modifications to be made. Within the branches of this larger tree is a bird's nest, a bird watching over it, and a much different aerial hunter launching off into the sky. You've probably noticed it by now, but there's been one thing I've omitted thus far, and that is the colossal animal moving over the shore. This was the first thing I worked on, because I wanted the rest of the model to leave space for it. I spent several hours working on the shape of the body, legs, and eventually head, and I accomplished my goal of keeping it smooth on every side. The only thing I'm not quite so proud of is how the front legs look from the front, but I wasn't sure how to fix it considering I wanted the back legs to be thicker than the front ones. Also, I planned for the torso to be almost entirely dark red, and the black spots you see here are simply because that part is not available in dark red on Pick-a-Brick, so I will try to replace them when I can. So there you have it. I've successfully converted a part of my Minecraft world into a more realistic diorama. If you want to see more like this with some other parts of my world, please give me feedback and I'll see what I can do. Also, if you have any questions or thoughts on what I've made, feel free to let me know in the comments. I do try to take your ideas into account, and given that this is my first time making something like this, I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.